Yo, what's going on today, guys? It's Sam, better known as Samito, and you know what we're doing. It's time for an Overwatch Season 4 mid-season patch tier list. We got some pretty big changes coming onto this list now, and I'm excited to make some updates here. So, obviously, let's just get right into the action. If you're new, hit that sub button. Let's do it. Exclamation mark blue Raz, code Samito, baby. Okay, let's go. So, Ana. These Ana nerfs are big, right? Playing as Echo against Ana, like she just explodes now. Like I think this is the absolute wrong direction to take Ana. Think about this. Of all the abilities on support to nerf, right? They nerf Ana Nade, which is the only one out of like Kiriko or Bap, or I guess Brig has her shield, or Moira who has Fade, right? The only one that's actually remotely counterable as a DPS player, right? Or a tank player to kill through, they nerf the impact healing on, which I think is just insane. Like, they really hurt Ana's survivability, but I still think she's A tier, right? I don't think that the team understands why she's picked so much. Like, she's picked because all the others, like Kiri and Brig, can just hard peel her. Like, Ana's pick rate went up and the high level plays just because because Brig got better, which is her anchor tank, right? So, you know, we'll see. Ashe, I still think Ashe is decent. She's high B in my opinion. Like, she's actually getting picked on some monkey comps, right? Like, because she can coach away from the Winston and knock his dive down, just like Brig can flail it. It makes it harder for the Winston when they nano monkey to actually get in there. So Ashe is B tier. I think she's got some good situations. Bap did get a small buff. I think Bap is B tier right now as well. Though if Ram Rush ends up being good, I don't think Bap is good into Junker Queen is the problem. That's my only thing with that. Is like I think Bap is not. Well, he could be good. We'll see where the meta ends up going. Bap is by no means a bad pick. No, I can't rank Bap under Ana. I can't do that. I think there is some point. It's just like I'll keep it real, guys. Like we'll get to Junker Queen in a little bit, but we're gonna revisit Bap when we get to Queen. Well, that's what we'll say. Bastion, I think, is B tier. Like, he's got some situations where he's decent, like against Winston, sure that you can just pick in ranked and he's okay. But in pro play, I don't think he's going to get very much play time at all. Then we'll go with Brig. I think Brig is still an A tier pick. Maybe even S. Well, Brig's getting a lot of play time, dude. I think Brig is S. I think Brig is S tier. Brig is without a doubt S tier, actually. I take it back. The new rally's really good. Brig, her healing is really, really good. You can pick her in a ton of different situations. And again, we're going to revisit Junker Queen here in a little bit, who got some mega buffs, guys. So yeah, Brig definitely going to be an S tier pick this season. Cassidy, I'm going to put in B tier. He's all right, definitely pickable. Can be good in the rush comps. Can put out some pretty consistent damage. Doomfist is actually bugged right now. I just saw Quaked and Zebra talking about a ton of abilities that Power Block doesn't work with. Doom is B tier at best. I think he's B tier at best is where things are at right now. But we'll see how he does going down the line. We'll see. I think he could be a little bit higher depending on what happens this season. So we'll see. Diva, I think, is B. Well, I'll say Diva's A tier. She's very good on the right map. Diva's map specific, but when you get her, on that map, she puts out a lot of value. Right? So, okay, here we go. This is where it's going to get tricky. These echo changes, right? So I've had 1 day to play with this copy. The new copy buffs. 25% ult charge reduction, but the multiplier went from 5.5 to 4x when you're in copy, meaning you build your ult slower. This copy is objectively worse, right? It is worse. Like, it is way harder to build your ult. When in the copy, it's very noticeable, and unless you play pixel perfect in the copy, you're basically just playing another character for 15 seconds and you have an insurance card. It's not like super proactive, and the heroes that you can copy are just super situational. I think most players are going to struggle with this copy more. Now, does that make Echo better, right? Because copy, again, is objectively worse because you build slower, but you build it faster, so is Echo as a hero better? I will say, I do like the new build rate feel. Obviously, they buffed it by 25%, so, you know, you're going to be able to do a lot, but copy's still not a fluid ult. I'm not going to lie. It's like you put a faster multiplier on it, like, it's like you're multiplying, like, if you're trying to find value, right? You increase the frequency, but the result and the power is still low, right? So I think this build rate is about what it should be for how powerful of an ult copy is, which is to say it's just not very powerful compared to other ultimates, right? I think if Queen ends up being good, Junker Queen is the single best copy in the game. Right, you can apply it an anti-effect, wound everybody, self-sustain. You have shout to like actually give you a tank health pool when you copy a tank. So because Junker Queen is very good, and this is the only reason why I'm putting her in A tier, right? Because Junker Queen is going to get a ton of playtime, right? I think Echo's copy on the Junker Queen is going to be valuable. But I will say this, copy is objectively worse. I saw some tweets on Twitter confused about why I said copy was worse for most players. That's because it literally is. Like, they gutted the ult build rate. So basically, when you're copying somebody, a lot of the time you're not even going to get to use an actual ultimate in the game, right? Because the whole point of copy was to use copy and build the ult. And you get no cooldown buffs. You're still stagnant and you're stuck in place the second you copy, which means you just get one shot a lot of the time, right? So Echo is like, she has half an ult, but it builds so fast that it allows her tempo to be good. And if you play well in the mid-fight, like Echo is all a mid-fight character. Like, if you are not good at the mid-fights in Overwatch, you won't be good at Echo, period, end of story. So I'll put her in A tier because she can copy Junker Queen, and that's literally it. If Junker Queen becomes bad and the meta becomes like, you know, Reinhardt or something, Echo will immediately jump back down to B tier, in my opinion. But I will say the build rate feels nice, but I think they should have gone a different direction, especially because, you know, Echo had the lowest pick rate of all DPS in the game, and this is not going to help average players get to play her. You know, we'll see, though. Genji, I'm going to put in B tier again. He's been good traditionally with Queen comps, so, you know, well, he was part of the Jotes meta over last summer, right? So you'll put Genji in the B tier. Same with, I'm going to put Hanzo in B tier as well. I think if the Queen Rush ends up being good, I think it would end up being like Soj and Genji, which would be a lot harder for Hanzo to get value considering he can just get rushed on. But he's a decent pick right now. He and Ashe are probably about the same. And now, moment of truth, Junker Queen, not even a conversation, S tier, best tank in the game. They buffed the absolute brakes off this character. She is insanely powerful. And that's not going to change anytime soon. Junker Queen, the best tank in the game. S-tier character for sure. She got the Rampage buffs for the impact damage, although she got less wounding healing. The Mag buff, which is super noticeable, right? It felt good, honestly. The Knife hitbox buff. What else did she get? She got another buff. What am I forgetting here? The passive buff. The one from 1.25 healing from wound damage to 2x. Hero's crazy, right? Definitely S tier Junker Queen. J-Cell got some small buffs back to his conch mine. Max damage at 110 instead of 100, right? Gonna give him a B tier. Definitely a ranked menace. He can be a problem. Kiriko. S tier. No surprise, guys. Kiriko, I mean, she's been S tier since she came out. She's a crazy character. You can pick her in almost any situation, and she's not terrible. So that is a good one. With Junker Queen being good, Lucio is gonna make his way back up to A tier. Notice how most supports are A tier or above. I think that Lucio is definitely gonna do well with Junker Queen. Mei, especially with Queen being good, Mei is very good into Queen and good in Brawl. So I'm gonna put Mei in the A tier. The wall can force the shout, slow down the Queen engage, block the Queen ult. Right, Mei actually can use her ice block to survive. I think Mei is gonna be a very good pick this season. So flex DPS players definitely Mei Echo. You guys are going to be seeing me play quite a bit the rest of the season. You know, and this patch did have some questionable changes, but I do think it'll make the game relatively fun. We'll see. Mercy, I'm going to put in B tier. She's just mid. Moira, this is going to surprise a lot of people. I'm actually going to put Moira in A tier right now. I think Moira in Queen meta could end up being very, very good. Her Cole buffs were pretty substantial. The ability to fade during Cole. And she's actually getting some playtime on maps, like the very linear maps, like New Queen Street or Circuit Royale, like those kind of maps, right? Where the lanes are so straight. Coalescence just gets so much value on those. So, you know, she's situational, and the team has to be able to play around her. I don't think she's the best pick, right? But she's not horrible, right? Especially with the stats that she can put out. Mostly because it's going to end up being a brawl meta, like with Junker Queen. If Queen's pick rate will be like, Jake tweeted this out, Queen's pick rate's going to be 95%. Queen was already the third most picked tank at high-level play, right? And then she got all these buffs. She's going to be the most played. Marissa got some small buffs, so I'll put her in B tier. You know, the damage I'm sure will help a little bit, but like she's not touching Junker Queen. I'm not going to lie. She's just not touching Junker Queen. Farah, I'm going to put in B tier. Not a bad character. You just need the right comp to play around it. And maybe she'll be good into Junker Queen comps, but the Queen Shout is just going to let people cross, so we'll see on that. Ram Stonks. I think Ram is A tier. He didn't get worse, but Junker Queen just got way better. Junker Queen is crazy. And maybe, honestly, some Ram Rush could be good into Queen Rush because you can't play the Jotes comp against Ramattra because he'll just pierce and kill the Brig and force her back. Maybe, because Ram is good into Queen, but Queen's buffs are so strong. Like, Ram May will have to get a wall slow on the Queen, but they'll just break the wall and just get right back out right after. So I don't know what's going to be the deal with that. We'll find out. Reaper, A tier. Again, it's going to be a rush meta, so I think Reaper could end up getting some value, at least in comp. Reinhardt, B tier. He's not Ram and he's not Queen, right? And Orisa got some buffs to compete with him. So remember, all the Brawl tanks, if the meta ends up being Brawl, are competing for one spot. Right? So if Ram and Queen are better than Rein, he's just competing for that spot, and it's going to be very difficult for him to actually get it. Can you get value on Rein if you play him properly? Absolutely, right? But, it's going to be harder to get value on this character than it is these two, in my opinion. Hog, terrible hero, right? Where he should be. Hog, I don't even think Hog belonged in role queue. I think Hog was an open queue, put your DPS player on tank if you need an extra tank kind of hero, so... Hog is just horrid, and that's good. Sigma A tier, very good in his situation still. Very good. Soj, have we been overrating Soj is the question. I think the spread changes they gave Sojourn were really bad. I still stand by they should have put the railgun on a cooldown so that your average player could use Sojourn and limits the high-end players a little bit more. I think Soj has kind of been gutted for most of the community, and I'm a little bit sad about that, but, that's okay. If Queen ends up being good, Sojourn's going to be good. I got to put this. This is for high-level play, though. I don't think your average player is going to get any value. I think the spread change that they put on Queen was a horrible, horrible decision. Or, sorry, on Soj was a horrible decision for a majority of the player base. Even the high-level players, they could have just put the rail on a 6-second cooldown like Helix Rocket, and it would just charge up from that point. And you'd have to shoot it in like 2 seconds or something. I think that would have been a much better change while keeping the spread tighter. Oh, well, though. Soldier, B tier. He's just mid. Yeah, he's just mid. He's just mid. That's all. That's right probably where he should be. Sombra, and here's where this is going to get tricky, right? Because if Queen comps end up being good, Sombra is going to be much worse with Brawl, right? Like, Sombra is good with the dive. I think Sombra is definitely A tier still, right? But she could easily fall down to B tier if the Queen comp doesn't allow her to get played as much. So we'll see. Sim, B tier. She's got the right maps. Torbjorn, B tier. Definitely a sleeper character. Definitely a sleeper character. But I don't think he's going to excel in this meta as much as these characters. And I said I was going to revisit Baptiste. Bap could end up in the Queen Rush comp. I don't think so though. But he can still be played in the Ram Rush comp and some of the other stuff. He's not a bad character. I still think Bap is A tier. Tracer, just an S tier character all around the board. She's been so good for so long. But if the meta ends up being Brawl with Queen, I don't think she's going to get played, right? That's not because she's bad. It's just because she's not the best option into this comp. Especially if it ends up being Lucio Kiri, which I think it actually might end up being. I think the meta might end up being Lucio Kiri over Brig, even though the rally, it's going to be, I think if it's Queen meta, it's either going to end up being Kiri Lucio or Lucio Brig, right? I'm not sure which one it's going to end up being, but it'll be one of these two competing for that spot. Widow, still an A tier character. Just no surprise there. I'm not even going to get into it this video. Winston got some small buffs. I think Winston's A tier. He still has the maps where he needs to get picked, like Gibraltar, stuff like that. Maps where Queen can't get picked, where you're playing dive, the dive maps. He's still the best dive tank, in my opinion. Ball got some nerfs. I think Ball is just B tier. He's high B, though, right? He's very close with Winston. I just think Winston with Brigana does better. With Brig being as good as she is, Ball just had a massive fall off, right? Brig is the best pick into Ball. If there's a Wrecking Ball on the other team, you pick Brig 10 out of 10 times and shut him down, and you're just going to win the game if you know how to play Brig, right? So Brig definitely S tier character, Ball B tier character too. Zarya had some maps where she was getting picked, but I just think she's mid. I don't think, especially with Queen being good now, Zarya is also competing for that Brawl spot, and she's in the same boat as Reinhardt and Orisa. They just can't compete. Zenyatta, I think Zen is still like an S tier character, though I don't think he's going to get played much this patch because of Queen Brawl. Again, he's in the same boat as Tracer, right? Where like if it's his map, he's going to get picked and he's really, really good. But if he's not getting picked, it's not because he's bad. It's because the game's other characters are so good. They're dictating the game towards their play style, right? Which makes things a little bit more interesting. So, yeah, we'll see. And then Lifeweaver, just a horrible hero. I mean, his ability, I think his abilities are okay. I actually think his abilities are strong, right? His abilities aren't the problem. What the problem is, aside from his dash, his hitbox is enormous, right? And I like the way they designed his healing and ability to do damage. It's just not an Overwatch 2 hero. You can't design heroes like that and have them be valuable, right? So I think they really need to do him like Moira and have him be able to heal and damage like at a very, very fast rate. And it's just, it sucks because I think the abilities have so much potential. And the abilities are actually really strong. If I was to rate his abilities, I would say they have like A tier in potential, right? But just the way his kit works and the way he sets up, it's just not a hero that you'd want to see in Overwatch 2, and I'm very disappointed in that regard. I think Lifeweaver was 2 steps backwards, right? Like, where we finally had heroes like Kiriko, who Suzu is broken, but was very proactive, fast cycling of healing, felt like a shooter character. And the devs just need to stop making heroes like Mercy and Brig and Moira. That's the cold hard truth, right? This game was popular because it was a shooter game, and with MOBA elements to it. You just like making straight up MOBA characters is just bad. It's what put this game down the gutter in the first place, in my opinion. And I think that they should, go back to characters like Kiriko and Ana and BAP. If you want support to be a more appealing role. So yeah. All right, guys, that's my tier list for the season 4 midseason patch. Definitely, I almost want to put Lucio in S tier because it's just going to be Rush, right? But Lucio is in that meta because the other heroes are so good, right? Not because he is so good compared to the other supports. He's a solid support, but he's not as good as Brig. He's not as good as Kiriko, and I don't think he's as good as Zen. So, okay, guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time. Peace out.